People are waiting. Okay, we're live.
Wow.
Dubcast, March Madness, bracket time. It's here, one day away. I'm joined by two prestigious guests, two college
Wow.
basketball gurus. I'm a little bit of a college basketball guru myself, but we'll see whose picks and predictions ultimately come true. So, do you guys want to do a quick little intro? Connor, lead us off with
I'm
your
Connor.
affiliations as well, if you have any.
I'm Connor. I went to school with Magoon, which is Syracuse. So I'm a Syracuse fan. I also grew up rooting for St. John's. I know there's some conflict of interest there, but it's not the 2000s anymore. We're in different conferences, so we can coexist. Um, yeah,
All
I'll
right,
leave it at that for now. I don't
Dylan.
know if you want me to say like
No,
my
you're good.
picks or anything, but
No, we're gonna get into that for
okay.
sure.
All right.
Dylan joined us on the NHL Stanley Cup preview last season, so making a return this time for some basketball. So go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. I thought you were gonna say one more thing. Yeah, I'm Dylan. Grew up a Providence College fan. Am a big Providence College fan. It's been a rough past couple of weeks for Providence College fans. We lost Hawkins today. If we lose Oswin tomorrow or the next day, we're screwed. But anyways, been just keeping up with college basketball for the whole year. Right now, I also have a rooting interest in St. John's. I love Patino, and I'm trying to see them do some damage. So, yeah, room for the Red Storm.
All right, so if you're new to the streams here, well, this is what's your guys' first live stream. We do take comments from the chat and potentially calls. No one really calls in, but we'll see if that changes. So, esteemed chatter is in the chat already. Greg Small,
Wow,
he
the
says,
hard R, dude. Chill.
yo.
Sorry.
He says, A, it works. Disclaimer, stealing all of Colin's picks from my bracket. All
I
right,
can't
bro.
join the chat.
You can
Oh, I
join
have
the
to
chat.
connect to my YouTube.
All right, don't join the chat
This
on
kid
your own.
made me download. This kid made
Bro,
me download
if you don't
Chrome.
have Google Chrome in 2025, I don't know
Gosh.
what.
Dude, I'm on like some old Dell right now. I'm not on Chrome. I don't even know what my search engine is. It's working though.
Things we do for this guy, man.
All right.
Download Chrome.
All right. Well,
We're here though. We're here.
it made evident that we're on somewhat of a time constraint. The people have been waiting, so let's not waste any
That's
words. I
right.
think
That's right.
the best way to go about this will be to go region by region. We don't need to go over like the Sweet 16, round of 32, all that, but we can kind of just like pick the first round and then maybe think who we're thinking for like the Elite Eight, Final Four. Maybe potentially, depending on how this stream goes, we can come back next week, preview the Sweet 16, Elite Eight, and then Final Four national championship game. So first region, we'll start with the South. I was not able to watch the selection show. Me and Dylan were actually at a wedding together. But Auburn as the number one overall seed kind of surprised me. I thought Duke would be the number one overall seed. We can kind of just skip through that game unless you think Alabama State pulls one of the biggest upsets of all time.
No.
No. The game last night was good.
Yeah.
The end was. I didn't watch, but
it was
I saw the end
also
was
it was
terrible
exciting.
basketball.
It was so sloppy. Yeah, it was 2 16 seeds battling it out.
Yeah. But good for them.
What's your while we're quickly on this, what's your guys' take on the first four, like the 16 seeds teams playing? Do you think they should be playing, or do you think they should be like get their own game in the tournament? Like, you know what I mean? Bubble teams play. There's been a lot of hot water controversy over that past couple of days.
I think it's fair that like the really shitty 16 seeds have to play another, but then like have to play a play-in, but then like some of like the shitty 11s that are bubble teams have to do play-ins. But like whenever there's an 11 seed or whenever there's a play-in team, that like at least one of them makes the Sweet 16. So gotta remember that.
That's something to keep in mind.
It's just a matter of which one, you know.
Especially in this South region, we have North Carolina with a strong win last night.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so we all have Auburn. Let's move to the first game of the weekend. Obviously, this is the classic first game. Your bracket's most likely going to be busted no matter who you pick, in my opinion, on this pick. But
it's a toss-up.
Yeah, it is a toss-up. So we have a Big East guy, we have an ACC guy, and then we have a mixed Big East and ACC guy. So will we stay true to our conferences? I'm staying true. I think Louisville wins this game. I also like them as a bet, 2.5. I think that's a good bet. I think Louisville, disgusting work by the national media to disrespect the ACC once again. Also, even when they disrespect us like last year, I mean, we had 2 teams in the Elite Eight. NC State made the Final Four as an 11 seed. ACC wins, and I like Creighton, but that performance against St. John's, I mean, it was kind of shaky at the end there. So I'm going to go with Louisville and Louisville spread. We'll pass it off to Dill. What do you think?
I'm with you on that. I think Louisville being an 8 seed is a travesty. I saw a conspiracy that they fucked it up and they switched Louisville and Memphis. But they already did it and they couldn't really go back on it. I don't think it's probably not true, but it's an interesting way to look at it. Louisville is a much better team than Creighton. Kalkbrenner can control on the inside. He's shown he can do that. But I also don't think outside of St. John's Marquette, they've really played a team of Louisville's caliber in the last month. So I think I'm with your pick, Dub. Louisville and Louisville spread.
Con?
Yeah, I think my head goes Louisville, but my heart goes Creighton. I like Creighton. I like Ashworth and Kalkbrenner, and I have more Big East pride, I think. But yeah, this is really tough. I've been saying this is the biggest game of the first round, and I think it's also the first game of the first round. It's the noon game tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah, this could easily be a 3 versus a 7 game, seeding wise. But yeah, I think Louisville will win. I do think Creighton has a better coach, but I'm gonna go Louisville. But yeah, this is a sick game.
This is
in a bad way. It's sick that for both of these teams.
It's kind of a shame it's at noon on a Thursday too.
I know.
I don't know why this is the first game. I get you want to start it off with a banger, but not everybody's gonna be able to see that game. It's a shame.
I want to be at work in the office. I'm going to have to sneak somehow. I don't know what the situation's going to be. All right, we've got more chats to catch up with. Go ahead. If you have something else.
No, yeah, I wonder who's more mad at this draw, Auburn or Louisville or Creighton.
Yeah.
Probably Auburn. Round. Auburn's probably pissed too.
In Kentucky, that's a terrible draw.
Yeah, in Lexington. Yeah, that's actually slept on. I don't think we mentioned that.
Yeah. This year, the 8-9 games are super tough anyways, but Louisville as an 8 seed is just crazy. So, I'll say now I'm picking Louisville to beat Auburn too. I think even if Creighton wins, I think they can pull it off too. I think Auburn's my number 1 seed that loses round 2. We can discuss that later maybe. So we have comments to catch up on. Freeland in the chat, he says Safari on top. I don't agree with that. I think Safari is a terrible browser. Google Chrome for the win. He was saying UNC for the team that makes the Sweet 16. We'll get to that in a second. Minus the N. What do we think of Adrian Autry? Con? Quick thoughts?
Terrible. This is the problem with hiring a coach that used to go to your school. Is they just naturally have a longer leash, and then you feel bad for firing them. Happened with Chris Mullen. Happened with Ewing. Dude, this guy's a bum.
You got to look outside the organization, in my opinion.
Yes.
I think Adrian Autry has 1 more year with Keon Anthony. We'll see. I'm not confident, but if he gets to the tournament, wins a game, who knows? Not much related, just a question. What should John Wildhack do? I think you give him an extra year. Boeheim coached for 45 years. He nailed Fran Brown, so maybe once you go outside the organization, you can actually get a good coach. I think you give him 1 more year, then you look externally. Already Will Wade got scooped up today. DeVries got scooped up, but maybe you get another guy next year. I don't know. There's always people in the cycle, so we'll see. Kalkbrenner coming. Yeah, that's scary. He's a great player. Allie, no Ohio State. Thoughts on McGann getting a mullet?
Love it.
I don't think I have the hair for that.
Should.
No Syracuse, bro. Yeah, sorry, we already talked about Syracuse. OSU women's about to go on a run. I don't have any picks for the women's tournament. I actually wanted to make a bracket. Connor J's in the chat. I wonder who this is.
I joined. I was trying to join through
no live stream. Tusha definitely didn't spell that right. I don't know what we're on anymore. So let's get back to the actual basketball. This one's spicy. So we have the Big Ten champions, Michigan, against, I think, what is the most popular upset pick, UC San Diego. What we'll cut back this time and start with Con. What's your pick for this game, Michigan?
I'm going Michigan. I'm gonna zig while everyone zags. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They're a good team. They play better teams than San Diego. They just won the conference. I think they'll ride the high. Yeah, I'm going Michigan. And Dusty May, let me mention him. I mean, he led FAU to a Final Four. Like, he's nothing to scoff at. And that center that they have is a beast too. So, Michigan.
They have two big 7-footers.
Golden, yeah, I'm talking about Golden, but yeah, the other
Danny
guy
Wolf,
too.
yeah. Dill?
Yeah, I'm with Connor on this. I understand the hype around UC San Diego. Like, they swarm on defense. I think they lead the nation in forced turnovers or something like that. But Michigan just won the Big Ten. They beat Michigan State. They beat a really good Maryland team, and they beat them in different ways. I think Michigan's going to do what they're supposed to do.
I'm going with the sim pick. I'm picking UC San Diego. I watched I watched one of their games against UC Irvine, the championship. They have one kid that looks kind of like Ron Baker. He seemed kind of raw. Michigan, I've been hearing through the whispers. So a fuck thing that I've been doing is listening to a college basketball podcast, The Field of 68. So shout out to them. But like, they've corrupted my mind into thinking Michigan will lose first round. I mean, also Big Ten tournament tiredness. They come in off that. I don't know where this game is, but I don't know. I think UC San Diego, the hype will be fulfilled. Some of these mid-majors got to win, because if not, then I don't know what all the mid-major people are going to bitch about if they just keep losing all the time. So I don't know. Looking at this board overall, I'm not seeing the vision on a 13 seed or above winning a game. So I'll take at least 112 to win here. UC San Diego, hopefully they prove their worth in that regard. Next one, a lot of people are on this one too. Ivy League. Yale out of the Ivy League. They face off against Texas A&M. I like Texas A&M a lot in this game. I also like their spread. I think people are overhyping Yale just because Yale has some pre-existing tournament stuff. I don't know if they won last year, but I know they have had big wins over Baylor, etc. I think Texas A&M gets the job done. I will say biased pick because I have a future on Texas A&M to make the Final Four. But I think Texas A&M is just like, even last year we saw against Houston, they gave them problems because they're just never quit on offensive boards. Wade Taylor's a dog. They've just got dudes and depth. So I'm going to go with Texas A&M to win this game and also spread. Also, last game I didn't say it, but UC San Diego money line, obviously, even though it's probably just a loss of money. But we'll go back to Dill. What's your pick for Texas A&M Yale?
Texas A&M all day. I don't really understand the hype around Yale. I think they have like a couple decent bigs and they're good at rebounding, but they're playing in the Ivy League. Texas A&M is ferocious. They attack early on. They get out to big leads. And I think they did decently well in the SEC. So I love their style of play. I think they could hit the Final Four. I hope your future comes true, because I mean, one would come true for me too. So go Tamu.
That'd be fun. Con?
Yeah, I agree with Dylan and Magoon. I don't have a future on them, but I'm gonna take A&M. I feel like they're kind of similar to like St. John's in a way, how they play. You always got to respect the Ivy League, but A&M's a good team. I think A&M's gonna win.
All right. We have more comments to get through. No women's brackets discussion. Maybe we can leave a little section for that at the end. I haven't looked at it. I know UConn's a 2 seed, so maybe some intrigue there. I don't know. F Michigan, I agree. This pod hates women. Not sure where this is coming from. I do a lot of movie reviews and TV show reviews praising women. I praise Natalie Portman for her performance in Black Swan, for example. If you need me to go on, that's a different podcast subject for a different day, maybe.
Shameless plug.
I know, right? That's one of my more popular videos, actually. So I don't know. I'm surprised people haven't seen that one. Allie preached to the choir. Danny Wolf is cheeks. I don't know which one's which, but one of them, I don't know. I feel like I haven't watched enough Michigan to comment on this. Any response to Danny Wolf's cheeks? All right, we'll keep it moving. Doesn't respect women again. Danny Wolf is Jewish. Fun fact of the day. Fun facts. The chat's lagging now. Okay. He's got to respond to the chat more often. Fun fact, every NFL stream and every live stream I've ever done, I pulled up every comment ever. So I don't know where this is coming from. And yeah, he won't. Unfortunately, I am right now. If he interacted with the chat more, he'd be bigger than Kai Cenat. Okay. This one, bro. Why does McGann look like a slave owner from South Carolina?
Why do you?
I don't think that's true. But whatever, straight out Django Unchained. Another shameless plug. Go check out Django Unchained's review. Off channel or off topic, Stephon Diggs to visit the Patriots. I'm down. We need offensive talent.
Sick.
Dill, do you like that? Patriots fan as well?
I like that. I like that a lot.
We like it. All right. Back to the South region. Sorry for this nonsense. Continuing. Ole Miss versus the first 4 team UNC. So we said, Con, you specifically said Sweet 16. Do you think North Carolina will be that team? Obviously, we're pending the results of Texas and Xavier tonight to see who will face Illinois. But what's your opinions for Ole Miss UNC? Actually, is there a line in this game yet?
UNC by 1.5, I think. Yeah.
Whoa, now.
Yeah. Might be subject to change, but maybe not.
I'm going to take UNC here. I actually wrote this bracket yesterday. I have the date. I don't know. But I had UNC winning before yesterday's game even happened. I had them beating Ole Miss. You can't see it, but like you can trust me. I'm going UNC.
Dope.
I'm kind of with Connor there. Also, you mentioned earlier about that trend. There's always a first 4 team that goes on a little bit of a run. I feel like UNC's been in this same spot too. Maybe not as 11 seed, but as like a 9, and they made it to the Final Four. I think it was like 3 years ago.
Yeah, I think they played Duke. Maybe.
Yeah, they played Duke in the Final Four, and then
it was Coach K's last year. Yeah.
Yeah. So I could see UNC doing the same exact thing. You have guys like RJ Davis just come alive. Even though I like Ole Miss, I think UNC is winning that game.
Okay, I'm with you guys. ACC pride. I like Xavier too if they win tonight, but I mean I'm not going to wait for that. I think UNC can win this game and then potentially win the next game because of who they're facing off against next, which we'll go to that game too. Iowa State, Lipscomb, whatever, out of the A-Sun. This is the most trendy 14/3 pick, I believe I was made aware of a couple of days ago, but I'm straying away from that. I just think Iowa State's too good, even though they have their injuries. This may be a little closer than you expect, but I think Iowa State gets the job done. Easy enough. Do you guys like this upset potential or sticking with Iowa State? We'll go to Con if you want.
Iowa State. I'm going Iowa State. I'll keep it simple.
All right. So we're sweeping that one. More comments to address real quickly. UNC is making the Sweet 16. It's locked. So we all picked Iowa State and we all picked UNC. So we all like UNC potentially over Iowa State to make the Sweet 16. I like that.
Yep.
Baylor was the 1 seed that UNC beat. I feel like every year there's always a 9 or 8 that beats a 1. I mean, it's just kind of finding that. I think that's in this region this year. I think either the winner of Louisville or Creighton beats Auburn. That's my prediction, but we'll see.
I think UNC they came back down like 25 too. It was something ridiculous. They got money on that game.
Yeah, it's a tough world out there. Round of 32 is like when I hate betting March Madness because it's just like that's when the chaos actually happens. We have a chat from our newly wed couple, Nate and Sam, sub-dub through Sam's channel. Congratulations, you guys. Check out the end of the Inglourious Bastards review. That's all I'll say. I gave a shout out. Greg, remember when you said, see, like, this is why I don't read the chat. They're just discussing amongst themselves. This isn't worth my time. When Texas won the CFP, never said that. Look back at the tape. Yeah, that comeback was insane. Talking about that comeback you just talked to. Okay, 2 games left. Marquette, New Mexico. Big East versus Mountain West, 7 versus 10. Marquette, a lot of people are asking questions out there. Are they legit? Haven't really had too crazy of wins, especially in the Big East where, I mean, at least half the teams can be good wins. But New Mexico hyped again behind Rich Pitino, sorry. So what's your guys' pick for this game? Marquette, New Mexico. We'll start off with our Big East correspondent, Dill. What do you think?
This one's kind of tough. I think I watched like one game that New Mexico played this year. I watched a few that Marquette played in. I think Cam Jones has a good chance to be the best player on the floor in a good amount of games that he's in. I also think Marquette is a little bit more battle tested. You know, even though that loss against St. John's, I don't know if they'll have the chance to face like another St. John's like team again. I think they'll get by New Mexico. I don't know about that spread though. I'm not sure what it's at.
I think it was like 3.5 or 4 when I last checked.
Might be New Mexico spread.
I'm going to go with you on picking Marquette. I think New Mexico. I'm out on the Mountain West, bro. Last year was disgusting. They put in fucking 5 or 6 Mountain West teams. They put in 3 or 4 ACC teams. There's 3 or 4 ACC teams in the Sweet 16. There's 0 Mountain West teams. I mean, San Diego State made a run a couple years ago, but it's like this conference is a joke. It's overhyped. I saw a tweet today. The Mountain West is just the A10 with like a good marketing budget. I think all these teams are fraudulent. I don't see any of these teams making it past the first weekend. So I think Marquette beats them. Cam Jones, dog. Con, take us away. You sweeping the board, or you going with the?
Yeah, I'm sweeping the board. I do like Patino. I remember the game against St. John's they played earlier in the year was actually a very good game. But Marquette's better. That Cam Jones guy is elite. As you said about the Mountain West, like I actually saw a stat. Since 2020, non-San Diego State teams are like 1-10 in the tournament, 1-10 or 1-11 or something like that. And then after SDSU yesterday, that's just like a terrible omen for them. They stole 2 bids from the Big East last year in St. John's and Seton Hall. Both should have made it. I'm fading the Mountain West. I've been like, fuck the Mountain West. Sorry about.
No, you can curse.
There's a cursing rule. Okay.
You're good.
Screw the Mountain West.
And fuck them.
Yeah, fuck them too. Yeah, everything. But even like the game against Memphis, like later, I know like Colorado State's favorite as a 12 seed. I'm not buying that at all. Like I'm definitely taking Memphis, and here I'm taking Marquette as well. So
we'll certainly get to that game. Before we get into our picks for the South region, congratulations on the marriage. That's nice. Wow, that was rude. Seriously, what am I doing pulling up conversations in between the chat? I think that's really stupid. This is just a waste of time. I hate the chat. That's not true. Still read every comment. We bring in the views and he just shits on us. I don't think that's necessarily true. I'm going to picket the show. I don't know what that means. Loyal sister watching this right now. I have an exam tomorrow. Thank you for your view. You're a good sister. SDSU shout out Kevin's sister. Mutual friend in the chat, I believe. All right, let's get to South region. So we gave our picks for the first round, kind of alluded to some of our picks later on, but who are you guys picking to come out of this region in the either Elite Eight or the Final Four?
You're missing one game, dog.
Oh, yeah, sorry. The pride of Rhode Island, Michigan State versus Bryant.
Yes, sir.
Doug Eater graduated a year or two
Doug
early.
Eater. Yeah.
Where's he at?
Just don't let him and Judah Mintz run into each other in an alley, or bad things will happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of beef there. I mean, I skipped over. I have thinking nothing of this game. I'm taking Michigan State. I mean, I like Bryant. If Bryant wins, that'll be sick, but I'm not expecting big things. I think I think you said maybe Bryant covers. I think I could get behind that. I don't know if you're still of that same mindset or if that was even you who said that, but I'm going to go with Michigan State. I'm not touching this game betting wise, but any takers on the Bryant train?
To cover, maybe if there's a 15 seed that has the best chance against a 2 seed, I think it's Bryant. They have a couple dogs. Earl Timberlake, they got a good big man. I still think Michigan State's going to win, but I think Bryant can cover 19 points.
I will say I do have Marquette beating MSU in the next round. I feel like when Izzo's teams are supposed to be good, they aren't. And then whenever he's like a 6 or like an 8 seed, like they make a run. And that like that's a tried and true method. Like that literally happens all the time with them, and we forget about it every single March. So I will say, like, if a 2 seed does lose, I would not be surprised if it's them. But I have them losing next round anyway. But to get to like the region winner, I think you were gonna get to that next. I do have Auburn coming out of the region, so I know it's chalky, but they're the 1 seed for a reason. So
who are you picking them to win over in the bottom half? UNC? You have UNC versus Marquette, right?
No, I actually do have them over ISU. So I do have UNC losing to Cyclones. Which I'm not. Yeah, like I think I was telling you before we started recording that I'm not too confident about the South region, but I could definitely see UNC making a run. and I could see, the 2 seed falling early in Michigan State, but I do on my sheet, which I'm not going to change. I do have Auburn over Iowa State.
Dill?
I'm so coming out of this region, I've got Texas A&M. I'm still trying to decide. I also have Marquette over Michigan State. Trying to figure out between UNC and Marquette who I have in that Sweet 16 matchup, but I think one of those teams is going to make an exciting run. But ultimately, I think Texas A&M is coming out of the South.
Yeah, I'm torn. I think in my Elite Eight, I'm gonna have Michigan State versus Texas A&M. But you guys are making some good points on Michigan State. I don't really see it with Marquette. I mean, I'm more just fading New Mexico in that spot than trusting Marquette. Iowa State, I don't trust. I don't really trust any of the bottom teams, so I'm just gonna go with Izzo, like kind of as a default there. And then on the top, I have Auburn losing in the second round, so it's kind of just like a crazy bracket where Texas A&M plays like UC San Diego, then Louisville. So I think I'm gonna go with Texas A&M too. Like I don't want to be too chalky because I did like a mock draft or kind of like a mock bracket, and I just had like 3 1 seeds in Michigan State. So I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. I'll go with Texas A&M to win the region. Kind of a sleeper there too, but I think they get hot for 3 or 4 games. Like why not us? I think that's a vision that I can see coming to fruition. So now we'll go over to the right and we'll head to the East region. We have this game actually happening right now between American and Mount St. Mary's. Last I checked, American was down 10 at halftime. I don't have a live screen on it, but any chance?
Mount St. Mary's is up 13 at the 12-minute timeout.
Okay, so it looks like it's going to be Mount St. Mary's potentially versus Duke. I mean, doesn't seem like Cooper Flagg will play this game, but I don't know if this is going to be one of the biggest upsets of all time. I think it's pretty obvious. I'm going to go with Duke.
I'll go with Duke as well.
Yeah.
They're
Duke.
a wagon.
Okay. This is an interesting game because I think both these teams are kind of skidding coming into this tournament. We have Mississippi State in the Southeastern Conference, kind of a middle-tier SEC. I mean, the SEC has been crazy, but like a middle-tier SEC team. Baylor, embarrassed on the first night of the season by Gonzaga, lost by 40. Kind of haven't had that same Scott Drew team that we'd expect, but they find themselves as a 9 seed. So we'll start with you, Dill. What's your take for this game, Mississippi State Baylor? I think the spread's like close to even on this one as well.
Yeah, this is another 8-9 toss-up, as it should be. Whoever I have winning is going to lose to Duke, but I do think Baylor's going to end up doing it. Mississippi State's not a bad team. I think Baylor has the dogs to compete. I think they'll get this one.
Con?
Yeah, I have Baylor. I mean, Scott Drew won a natty with them a few years ago. I mean, this is a toss-up. Like, obviously, it's an 8-9 game, so needless to say, it's a toss-up. But yeah, I'm gonna go Baylor. But I have Duke. I have Duke beating whoever. Like,
I mean, yeah, I agree. I think Duke will beat Baylor by 30, but I think Baylor wins this first game. Mississippi State, kind of a classic choker team in the tournament, in my opinion. I feel like every year they're kind of hyped up and then fail. I mean, this year they also had a lot of opportunities against the top tier SEC teams and fell pretty flat there. So we'll move down the bracket to one of my former affiliations, Oregon, facing off against Liberty. Seems like Liberty always finds itself in the tournament in one of these kind of higher seed spots, makes it a game. Last I checked, the spread on this one was 7.5. I'm staying away from the spread, but I like Oregon to advance. I think Dana Altman in the tournament is just a crazy. I mean, last year we saw it against Creighton. They almost beat Creighton at the last second. I think they had that first round upset against somebody, I'm forgetting who, but I like Oregon to advance and beat the 12 seed here in Liberty. We'll go back to you, Con. What do you think for this game? Are you taking one of the 12 seeds or sticking with the Ducks?
I am going Oregon here. Yeah, going Oregon.
Enough said. Dill?
Yeah, I did not watch any Liberty basketball, barely watched any Oregon. I'm going to stick with Oregon.
Okay. Should probably get to the chat. There's a lot of stuff to get through. So our friend, employee of Middle Tennessee State, wants a shout out. Who did Michigan State lose to as a 2 seed in 2016? That would be Middle Tennessee. Yeah.
And then who did Middle Tennessee lose to in the next game?
Q's?
Yes, sir.
I didn't even know that was just a guess.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to start skipping through some of these, but I'll pull up the relevant ones. Allie met Bruce Pearl over the weekend in Nashville, Tennessee. So there you go. Little shout out there. He's a proud Jew. Here's a good question. Who's going to be the player to surprise the world? I feel like this is for like the college basketball freaks, because you have to like pick somebody on one of the lower seeds, and not a lot of people know this. So is there anyone that comes to mind on this one? I'm going to go with that kid from UC San Diego. I think I forget his name, but you'll remember the name after they win over Michigan. That's my pick. Any Cinderella stories / player that will shock the world?
I got one. Show me Bennett Sturts from Drake. He came up from D2 with his coach, and he's been absolutely balling out. Leads that team. I think he's their point guard. Leads them in offense and defensive scoring. Guy's a monster. I think he's gonna help Drake win a game or two, maybe 3.
Con?
Yeah, no one really comes to mind. I do like Akron though. I mean, Akron has some players that are like, have been or like seniors, like veterans. So maybe someone on one of those teams, or maybe shout out McNeese, Kadir Copeland.
Oh
perhaps,
yeah, he's a
perhaps,
stud. He's a
yeah,
cool
good
guy.
player. So
Okay. Baylor winning, so Jeremy Roach, in parentheses, serial cheater, probably has an STD, end parentheses, plays his old team. That'll be a storyline.
Damn.
This is a question that I'll let Con get to. Thoughts on Tracy Morgan at the Knicks game? I believe that happened Tuesday, Monday night.
I think that might be Dick's version of Grimace.
That's going to be the spark?
Yes, I
Okay.
believe so. And it was not, I think he's a recovering alcoholic, so the people making jokes that he was blacked out is in poor taste, because I think it was like food poisoning or probably like a concussion or some shit, because he's like kind of, he was in like a bad accident or whatever, but I don't know, man.
Okay.
Go Knicks.
So, as a guest on the show, you get Greg's fandom for being not me. So I love Connor, hashtag Team Connor. A lot of Jeremy Roach chat in the thing here. Crazy X. Dude from Akron. So Ali actually said that before. Whoever said that thing about Akron. We need stories. We do need stories. It's just hard to predict where they'll come from. More stuff about Jeremy Roach. People are getting this virus lately. Does that explain the Tracy Morgan problem? I think I've actually
the norovirus.
Yeah, I think I've had a couple of people I know actually get that. So
I'm scared of that shit.
Yeah, stay at home and watch basketball, guys. Be safe. Okay, back to the bracket. The aforementioned Akron Zips come in as a 13 seed, face off against Caleb Love in Arizona. So we'll start with Dill on this one. Caleb Love in Arizona, 4 seed. I feel like knowing you kind of always like Arizona. Are you falling into that same sort of pattern this year, or a little bit tentative on their path here against the winners of the MAC?
I threw a future on Arizona as soon as the line came out this summer. I'm always so high on them for absolutely no reason. Also Caleb Love's another guy I just have like blind faith in. Honestly, probably since that UNC 8 seed run. So I'm gonna stick with Arizona. If they lose, like I wouldn't be shocked. I'm probably gonna do the same thing again next year.
Yeah, I'm taking Arizona too. Akron's like a fun pick. I feel like they actually kind of always have a good basketball team, but I wouldn't be surprised if they lose this game, honestly. I think maybe Akron spread something you look at, but
True.
I'm going to go with Arizona to win this game, get a former Pac-12 matchup against Oregon. Con, you taking the Zips?
I am
Kylie
taking the Zips.
Okay.
Yeah, I am.
Alert.
I am taking the Zips. I don't know. I feel like the MAC's a pretty good conference. I feel like, they always kind of have a team that's like 13, 12-ish, and they make some noise. Akron's pretty good too. They have guys that are like vets, have been around. I don't know. Caleb Love, like, I don't know how he's still in college. Taking Akron.
Caleb Love's like the classic could just go like 3 for 20, and then Arizona's just cooked too. So
Yeah, like I don't
it's
know if I
definitely a
want him like
possibility.
steering the ship, but
Yeah,
I don't know. He's a veteran too, I guess, to my, to contradict myself, but
He
I think
could
it
he could send
Arizona's
them to
a
the Final
good team.
Four, or you're right, go like 3 for 20 and just
crash
completely,
out.
yeah.
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 So next game, I think this will be the best game in my opinion. BYU versus VCU. You have Ryan Odom, coaching prospect for people out there who are looking for a new coach, facing off against BYU, who a lot of people are high on. So we'll go back to you, Con. Are you going with the BYU Mormons or the VCU Rams, pride of the A10?
Going with the Mormons. I did watch a bit of the A10 championship. VC wasn't really impressive. I believe they might have been a bubble team anyway, but don't quote me on that. So I guess they were decent throughout the year, but I'm going BYU.
They were like kind of on the bottom end of the bubble, and then just played their way in and won the A10 anyways. Yeah, I'm with you on BYU. I mean, this team has been pretty raw in the Big 12 tournament. I know they beat Iowa State in a crazy game. I know they beat Iowa State, I think, before that as well. They've been one of the hotter teams. Next year, BYU has AJ DeBonds or whatever, the top prospect. I think they're going to show out. And little teaser for later, I don't think this is where BYU stops, but I like BYU to advance past the Rams. I think this will be a very good game, though. VCU always has that pressure, shows up in March, too. So I'm expecting fireworks out of this one. This will be a good one to watch tomorrow, starting off the 4 o'clock window. Dill, you riding with BYU or going with the VCU Rams?
I'm also riding with BYU. I saw them play a few times this year. I think they're a really good team. I think they could have been in that 5 seed line. I think they could have maybe stuck in that 4 seed line. Like, I think this team could do some damage. And I'm kind of in agreement with VCU. I'm not really that impressed by them. So go Mormons.
Okay, catching up with the chat. Greg wishing everyone happy Nowruz. Freeland says, thoughts on the Cuse women's lax win over top 20 Loyola. If you're watching women's lacrosse, God bless you, bro. Allie's taking VCU. Igor Demon sucks.
Sounds like a Jedi.
Maybe this is our name for the tournament. Richie Saunders,
Maybe.
Igor Demon. Let's go.
Maybe.
Are we going through until the chip? We're halfway done now with the regions. Freeland's also taking VCU. Wanted to watch Severance tonight. I know I started Severance last week, but terrible time to start because I'm just going to be watching basketball until like next Monday. So we'll see. This is more important. It is. We're giving out great picks tonight. Why am I so happy? Because you're on the best stream on planet Earth, getting the best picks you can possibly get. BYU, a little throwback to college football season. Connor J, random guy in the chat, says he's a few episodes behind. All right, continuing on with East Region, Wisconsin, Montana. This is a pretty hum-ho affair for me. I've heard Montana is not a great team. I'm going to go with Wisconsin. John Tanji, dog. I think this Wisconsin team is a little bit more electric than usual, so I'm going to take them. Also, last year lost to JMU first round. I think they'll at least win their first game this year. I like them over Montana. You guys in agreement or any interest in Montana
Wisconsin.
out there?
Wisconsin.
All right, we can move past that one pretty quickly. This one's fun. St. Mary's won the West Coast Conference regular season title. Had Gonzaga's number for 2 out of 3 games this year, lost in the championship. But they face off against Vanderbilt with aforementioned JMU's former coach, Boddington, or not Boddington, or is that his name? I don't know. It's something close to that. St. Mary's Vandy. We'll start with Dill. What do you have for this game? I don't know what the spread is. I think it's like leans St. Mary's, but
I'll check.
I think it's St. Mary's by a couple, maybe. I have Vandy in this one. St. Mary's, I feel like they're the same team every single year in the tournament. They got some big guys that bang down low. They got a couple shooters. I think Vanderbilt is a team of dogs, though. And again, battle test in the SEC. I think this is an easy win for them.
I see the spread is -4 for St. Mary's, so nice little money line play if you're interested in what Dill's preaching right now. Con, what's your pick for this game?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Dill. I think St. Mary's is so soft. The only reason they're not one of these like disappointing Mountain West schools that always lose is because they have like an enrollment of like 2,500 kids. So they can't even get into the Mountain West. They just pride themselves on trying to beat Gonzaga every year, and they can't even do it when it matters. Vanderbilt played probably 25 games against better teams than St. Mary's, probably more. I'm going Vanderbilt, and I actually don't think this is where Vanderbilt will get their last win.
Oh, we
Whoa,
must be in a
now.
lot of agreement here.
So I'm in a little bit of a
Interesting.
disagreement on this game. I think St. Mary's gets the job done. Tournament experience. Vanderbilt, I think, is kind of riding a high. I'm not sure overall if I trust them enough to win this game. I think the bottom of the SEC will fall out. I think they've been boosted up a little bit by having more opportunities. So I'm going to go with St. Mary's and not fade the Western Coast Conference like I usually do. I don't know. I think over the years I've been kind of trusting Randy Bennett more and more. I think that he gets the job done here. Spread indicates that as well. So we'll see what happens. Last game of this region, Alabama, Robert Morris. Grant Nelson, potentially status unknown for round one game, which is on Friday, 12:40. Regardless, I'm going with Bama over Robert Morris. Don't see it here. I think they're one of the best 6 or
Yes,
7 teams
Bama.
in the country. So, okay. So we can move on there. Region winners. So we have the number 2 overall seed with the best prospect in college basketball, Duke. And then we also have a couple sleeper teams in the bottom here. You have Bama. You guys both mentioned you don't think Bama will make it to the Sweet 16, or you're kind of alluding to that. So we'll start with Khan because he's geeking. Who's your picks for the Elite Eight?
No,
And then
yeah,
Final Four.
I actually also have my Sweet 16. I have Duke versus Akron, and then I have BYU versus Vandy.
Okay.
I
Real
do
spicy.
think, yeah, I know Vandy actually ended the season. I think they lost like their last 4 games, but as part of that, they lost first round of the SEC tournament, so they've had long time to switch gears and get ready for this, as opposed to like teams that have been in like emotional battles and like literally that ended on like Sunday. I know they also lost to Bama by like 20 in the regular season, but it's hard to beat a team twice. Like they lost on the road. I don't know. I could easily, it's a conference matchup. Like throughout the record books, I know it's like a cliche, and I use it sarcastically like a lot of the time, but sometimes it holds true, and I think it will here. And I think Duke will beat Vandy in the Elite Eight. So
Okay.
Vandy will go on a little bit of a run as a 10 seed, but Duke will get out of the region.
So JMU's coach faced off last season in the round of 32 against Duke. So maybe rematch there. Dill, what do you have? Some sort of variation of that as well? I mean, you mentioned Alabama losing too potentially early.
I do. So I have Vanderbilt over Bama in the round of 32. I think Bama, while they're so much fun to watch and like their offense is insane, they also have, I think they have huge crash and burn potential. And I think it's bound to happen against, one of these SEC teams that can just hound them. But my Sweet 16 looks like Duke, Arizona, and I also have that BYU and Vandy matchup, but I have BYU and Duke in the Elite Eight, and Duke taking that.
Okay, so it took a
Nice.
different path to get there, but I have the exact same thing. I think BYU beats Wisconsin and Bama. I'm picking St. Mary's, but so I don't see St. Mary's beating Bama, and then maybe Bama like kind of gets a false confidence, gets their people back next week, loses to BYU. Just BYU, that would be a boat race of a game. BYU versus Alabama, like take the over in that game for sure. And then I don't see anybody beating Duke, especially like you're looking at potentially Oregon, in my opinion, facing off against them. I just don't think Oregon has the dudes to keep up with Duke. So I like Duke BYU, and then when it comes to Duke versus BYU, I'm taking Duke as well. I think this region's really cut out for Duke to win. I mean, I kind of like BYU as a sleeper, but I don't trust them enough to get the job done against Duke, who's got all the dudes in college basketball. So that's where I'm at for the Final Four there. We head down to the bottom left of the bracket, the West region. Florida, an important team to Con, I know for sure. That future bet that I just wasn't able to place because DraftKings or Connecticut or one of the something was screwing me over, didn't want me to take it. So they face off against one of these 16 seeds who didn't have to face anybody, Norfolk State. I think we're all in agreement. Florida here. I mean, I don't know if you guys any interest in Norfolk State.
No.
Nope.
Okay. So we'll head to the Big East. back to the Big East. UConn, defending two-time champs, face off against Jeremiah Fears in Oklahoma. Another bottom of the barrel, technically bottom of the barrel because most of the conference got in. Oklahoma team. A lot of people thought they'd be in the bubble. They get in as a 9 seed. I think this game will actually be interesting, more interesting than people expect. I'm not going to touch this game from a betting perspective, but I'll take the more experienced coach. I'll take Hurley and UConn to advance and face it off against Florida. What do you guys think? Can Fears will himself to a win over the defending two-time champions? We'll go to Con here to start.
I'll go UConn here. I think this is a toss-up as reflected by the seeds, but we'll go UConn.
Dill, back in the Big East?
I'm also going UConn. I think they have enough gas to win one game.
Okay, I agree. I think they still have some talent on that roster. I just think Oklahoma's been, I've bet on Oklahoma and it's been a disaster. So I'm going to stay away at this point. We'll catch up with the chat really quick, especially if we're just talking about Florida. Another fun fact, just all the Jewish coaches. Florida's coach is a Jew, and John Shire, a lot of Jews everywhere. My specific thoughts on Jews in college basketball. If they have all these great coaches, let's keep them coming. Let's get good coaches in college basketball. I think that's what makes the sport better. Maybe a comment for Dill here. I think you're the only one watching the game. So why does Americans suck? What are you seeing from a basketball perspective to break this down?
So one thing I'm seeing for sure is that Mount St. Mary's has definitely made more shots than American. That's key.
Wow.
I don't know, dude. American just isn't very good. Mount St. Mary's just looks like they're a step above them. That's really all I have.
2-point favorites. It's getting dogged. Hate to see it.
Fun fact. Favorites.
Greg applied there and got rejected. Buckins in the chat, go Gators. So we'll see if this continues. Back to the West region. My favorite pick on the board, Memphis versus Colorado State. Tyrese Hunter injury, but he's been upgraded to questionable. I'm hammering Memphis. Might put more money in. I guess the game's on Friday, so we still have time. I think Memphis money line's my favorite player this whole tournament to start. I don't think Colorado State. They've been hot lately. I know they have a couple of kids on their team who are maybe better or whatever, but are getting good. I don't trust it. Memphis, give me Penny. They're a slept-on team, even though they probably should have been a lower seed. They didn't really fumble as much as people thought in the American. The American's not some pushover conference like the rest. You still have scrappy teams like UAB, Wichita State, North Texas. So I think Memphis wins this game. I think honestly they could win this game by a couple points. Mountain West, Colorado State last year, they destroyed Virginia and then they just completely shit the bed against Texas. One of the worst bets I made in that tournament. So I'm going with Memphis, fading the Mountain West, continuing that trend. Con, you riding with me, fading the Mountain West in this game?
Yeah, I'll be taking Memphis. I'm more than happy that they're underdogs betting. The Mountain West sucks. And until they prove me wrong, I'm going to just keep fading them. Which I know that pendulum will swing at one point, I'm sure, but I'm glad to take Memphis, and I'll probably be putting money on them as well.
So
I'm leaning the other way. After some thought, I do think Colorado State is going to win this game. If Tyrese Hunter is out, I definitely think Colorado State's going to win this game. They're just hot, and March at times likes to reward hot teams against a team like Memphis, who, again, like I said earlier, Louisville should have been in their spot. I think Memphis is a little bit overrated, and I think some of that hype against Colorado State might come to bite some of those bettors in the ass. Just saying.
We'll see. Colorado State is the favorite, so Vegas likes what they see with them as well. Heading down the bracket, we have another very hot team, Maryland, facing off against Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon won a game last year as an underdog, so we'll go right back to you, Dale. You like Grand Canyon in this spot, or are you going with the Crab 5, Maryland, to advance here?
Nah, I'm going with the Crab 5. I think Maryland's a really good team. I think the same thing. Sorry, never mind. I was going off something different there. I think Maryland's going to win this.
Con?
Yeah, I'm going to go Maryland. I think if games lasted, 38 minutes, Maryland would be like a 1 seed probably. But unfortunately, they last 40 minutes. but Maryland's still a good team. I think Grand Canyon's a good team. I think they have like a good story behind them. Someone got sick or something, but I don't know. I'm taking Maryland.
I
Um,
agree.
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna take Maryland to beat Memphis as well next round. But
I like Maryland a lot. I think Grand Canyon got their win last season. I know I think they still have Tyshawn Alexander. I think that's his name. I just don't see it in the cards. I think this is a bad draw for them. I mean, maybe up against another 4 seed, I'd take them, but I'm going with Maryland. I just think it's pretty simple here. I don't know. I think the spread's pretty big too, so maybe a Grand Canyon like spread spot, but I'm going with Maryland, crab 5. Another popular upset pick on the board. We mentioned it before. Drake, Mizzou, another SEC team. I'll start this one off. I'm going with the underdogs. I'm taking Drake. Just think Drake always kind of has that dog in them. Last year, I know they kind of faltered in the tournament, but I think they get their vengeance this year, win a game, especially over Missouri, who I think has been one of the more inconsistent teams. One night they're beating Kansas, the next night they're losing to some random SEC team. I think Drake gets this done. I don't trust Mizzou in the long run, so I'll take the upset here. Con, back to you. You riding with Drake or Mizzou?
I'm going to take Mizzou. I really like Drake. I like their whole like D2 core that they have. That I know we mentioned earlier.
Ben
But
McCollum, yeah.
Mizzou's, pretty hardened team. Um, yeah, and I think again, like they're another team that lost like early in their conference tournament. I think they lost I know they lost to Florida. And just like, getting that extra rest definitely helps. Whereas Drake, like, I don't know, like they knew they were in a one bid league for right? They weren't an at large bid, right?
There was like a potential that they could be an
Yeah,
at-large
they
bid
were like on the
if
bubbles.
Bradley won. Yeah.
Yeah, similar to like VCU, but like I don't know. Like I feel like this is a pick that I would have taken Drake if I was like 16 years old, but I don't know. I feel like I've just learned like Mizzou's probably just gonna win by 15, and like I'll be pissed that they win, but I do think Mizzou will win.
Dill, break the tie here.
I can see that exact thing happening on the flip side. So I'm going Drake. I mentioned earlier about starts. I think he's a stud. I like the story with Ben McCollum and that whole D2 core, as we were saying. But also, Dub kind of touched on something you said earlier. Mizzou is super, super inconsistent. Not super sure what team you're going to get from time to time. And yeah, I think Drake has the guns to do it.
I mean, I think all these 6 seeds potentially besides BYU could be in trouble, really, because it's all inconsistent teams like Illinois, Missouri.
Illinois sucks.
Ole Miss, like we'll get to Illinois in a second, but I just don't trust any of those teams at all. The UNC Wilmington Seahawks go and face Texas Tech. Friend of the pod went to UNC Wilmington. Hopefully he's out there watching on the NFL streams, Cam Lindbergh, but I don't know. I don't think this is in the cards for them. I think Texas Tech, one of my sleeper teams.
Yeah. I'm gonna go Tech as well.
Yeah. Dill, any excitement from the Seahawks?
I'm going Wilmington, dude.
Really?
Nice.
I am. I think Jacob Toppin is going to fall flat on his face, or JT Toppin, whatever he goes by. I've been like, there's been a few teams I've just been like watching to see if I want to make an upset pick on. So I watched a little bit of UNC Wilmington, and they play hard, dude. If there's a 14 seed that can do it, I think it's that one. So
honestly,
go Wilmington.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of agree with you there. Maybe. I like UNC Wilmington. I wish they were either a little bit higher or a little bit lower than maybe. I don't know. I just feel like this is a bad spot because I kind of have like Tech the whole year. Finishing off the bracket, we have big coaching matchup between Bill Self and John Calipari. Two teams that come in kind of limping with struggling on the back end of their season. I mean, Arkansas kind of was like just mid the whole season, but I know Kansas is like looking at 5.5, 4.5 points right now. So Dill, we'll cut back to you. You riding with Vegas and Kansas, or do you think John Calipari can get it done in the round of 64 and advance to a potential matchup against Patino?
This is a tough one. I think it's sick that it's happening right in Providence too.
Shout out, Prov. Yeah.
Maybe if we
the dunk.
It's not the dunk anymore, bro.
No, it's still the dunk. It's the dunk.
It is.
But I'm gonna go Kansas because Yeah, they've been kind of up and down this year, but they still have Hunter Dickinson, AJ Storr, who's seemed like he's turned his 3-point shooting up a notch. Maybe DeJuan Harris can get going.
John.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Kansas.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Kansas as well. When this was revealed on like the selection show, it was insane because like you knew that St. John's was gonna. Because this was the last region, so you knew that St. John's was the next team. And when it was Calipari versus Self, that was like, I think it's a very sick matchup. But I feel like Calipari is too much of like a roller coaster ride. Like I don't know. Like I think he beat Kentucky in Kentucky, like in his reunion there, his homecoming there. Yeah, but I feel like Self is just more of a I don't know, a stable coach, I guess. I feel like they'll both be ready. I feel like this is a must-watch game, and assuming that St. John's wins next game, which I do have them winning. I know I'm looking ahead, but that round of 32 matchup between Patino and whoever wins this will also be a banger.
Big time.
I agree. I also think it'll be against Bill Self and Kansas. I think Kansas is that perfect team that people think is like slumping coming in, and then they're just going to beat Arkansas by like 15. Like Arkansas doesn't really have dudes. I know they've kind of, I won't say lied because I don't know the full story, but I think they kind of said to the NCAA that this certain player is going to play, and I'm not sure he actually will. So I know they're kind of banged up with injuries too. And yeah, Hunter Dickinson should be working in an Amazon warehouse. He's still in college. He's got like 2 or 3 years in all these guys. So I'll take Kansas. Bill Self in the tournament can get it done at least for one round. We'll go now to the last game in the bracket, St. John's Omaha. Con, you already said St. John's. I'm with you there. I think at least this team has enough destiny to at least win this game. So, Dill, you in agreement with that? Big East support?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's break it all down then. So we have strong team coming in as a 1 seed, Florida Gators, St. John's, a lot of people's sweethearts as the number 2 seed. And then you've got some sleeper teams like Texas Tech, Maryland. So what do you guys have for your Elite 8 here? We'll go to Dill to start us out.
So this is one I'm still kind of torn on. And because we were just talking about that St. John's and Kansas game, I think whoever wins that game, and I think Kansas, like Dub, like you were saying, has a much better chance than people might give them credit for. I think it's St. John's or Kansas versus Florida in the Elite 8, and I think Florida is going to come out of this region.
Okay. Con, you riding with the future of the Gators and your bracket, or?
I am. Okay. Yeah, I do have a future on Florida that I placed in like early February for like plus 1,400. So I know now they're like plus 400, but I'm definitely riding that. I also did realize that my entire region is total chalk, like down to every single round in the region. Which that, and I doubt that's gonna happen. Yeah. And you guys are definitely making me more wary of Kansas. I think that Kansas St. John's game will be a banger. But yeah, I think Florida's a wagon. Like, I don't know. I think the Florida Maryland game will also be very good. But I think in the end, I have Florida coming out of the region, which gives me 3 1 seeds this far. So it seems chalk from the outside, but
people are saying this is the year to pick chalk because the top is just so good. But I'm also going to take Florida to come out of this region. I mean, I already kind of have a crazy pick in Texas A&M, but Florida, I mean, I think a big hammer potentially will be Florida versus UConn. I think Big Cat's been saying that, but people will be betting on UConn because 2-time champion, and then Florida will just beat them by like 20 or 30 points. Besides that, I think Memphis I have them to win the first round. I think they get boat raced by Maryland, setting up Florida versus Maryland. I mean, I just think Florida's a better team overall. Maryland's pretty good, though. And then on the bottom, I want to trust St. John's, but I just think there's a game where, like, they just couldn't make a shot. And I could see that happening against maybe, like, a Texas Tech or even, like, a Drake. I mean, Drake is kind of like a sleeper team to make the Elite 8. But overall, I'm going with Florida to beat whoever comes out of that bottom, whether I decide between St. John's or Texas Tech. So all in agreement there on the Gators. We'll catch up with the chat really quick. American Loki making a comeback. Do we live bet American? Dill, status update on this?
Well, they're down 11 with 35 seconds left. So,
Okay, yeah.
I mean, if you think they have like northern Iowa in them,
You never know. Caruso is on that. Oh no, that was a different game.
No, yeah, that game, the A&M.
No, that was the same game.
Okay, yeah, no, I was
A&M,
thinking
Northern
it
Iowa.
was the Jesperson. I got it mixed up. Save it for Xavier later. Smart man in the chat. New coach who's legit. The Drake coach, future Cuse guy. I think McCollum gets scooped up somewhere else. I mean, there's a lot of openings. Iowa's open. I think that could be a potential fit for him.
Utah, I think.
Yeah,
PC
Utah.
soon, maybe.
Next year. I think you'll be in the boat with us next year looking for a new coach, Cuse and PC.
Yeah, maybe.
Thoughts on the show? Anyone play the show? I do not. Con? I don't even think you got did you get NCAA yet, Con?
No.
Okay. St. John's not making the Sweet 16.
That could be that Kansas matchup, man.
I think they'll make the Sweet 16, but
that could be a tough one.
I could see them having problems with Kansas. So
I do think they're the weakest 2 seed, and I say that as someone who watched 95% of their games.
Yeah, I agree with Connor.
I think they're in the same boat with Bama, kind of, where it's like you don't really know what you're gonna get on a game because they just have one game where they like completely fuck up. Greg still has your Xbox controller. Heads up.
Oh shit!
Just realized.
Forgot about that.
Last region, Midwest region. Last 1 seed Houston faces off against first-time tournament team SIUE. Houston. I think it's pretty simple.
Yep, Houston.
Okay.
Samson's a good coach.
We'll head to another coach people consider a great coach, Mark Few. He faces off against Mike White and the Georgia Bulldogs. Georgia kind of had, I think they won over Florida late in the season. Not the best stretch coming into this tournament, but another SEC team. So Gonzaga versus Georgia. As a Gonzaga hater, I'm still taking Gonzaga. I think no way this team loses first round. Spread's a little bit tough because I think a lot of people are betting on Gonzaga, so it keeps going up to like 6.5, 7.5, which I think is like a little bit egregious. But I like Gonzaga to win this game, move on and face Houston. Con, what do you think?
Yeah, this will be tight, but I have Gonzaga. Pretty sure they were underseeded a little bit. I think they could have been like a 6.
They have crazy. I think they're like top 10 in like KenPom or whatever. Like they have crazy metrics. So
yeah, I mean, Few's a great coach. Gonzaga's always scary in March. Yeah, Gonzaga.
Dill?
I'm also riding the Zags. Touching on their metrics too. And I don't think the Zags are done after next round either. If there's underdog teams that perform against 1 seeds, it's teams that dominate possession. And I think the Zags are top 3 in that. In KenPom and whatever other metrics. So, yeah, Zags.
Okay. Interesting. We'll head to the last 12-5 on the board. I think I picked San Diego State and then Dill picked Colorado State. Did we have what was the other 12 seed? Oh, Liberty. No one picked Liberty. So 12-5 most popular upset. Are we taking McNeese to win over ACC Clemson? We'll start with you, Dill, because you don't have the ACC affiliation. What do you think? Will Wade?
I had McNeese up until the Will Wade news. It's such a given. Like, okay, yeah, he's already taken the job, so he's going to be focused on this. He's not focused on any of this shit right now. We've seen it in the past with any coach that has taken a job with another school during important games, unless they are an absolute juggernaut. They're going to fail. So I'm going to stick with Clemson.
Con?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Clemson too. I had Clemson before the news. It makes me a bit more confident. I think McNeese was here last year too.
Yep. They were at 12 against Gonzaga. And
they lost, right?
They got their doors blown off.
Smoked, and I think they were also a very popular pick to beat them, and then they got like shit on. Will Wade's a criminal. Yeah, Clemson.
Little ACC banter for our future NC State Wolfpack coach. I like it. But yeah, I'm going with Clemson too over McNeese. I did originally like McNeese to cover, but now that he took the job before the tournament even started, I already bet it, so I'm just in that boat, but I don't like that pick anymore. Hopefully my man Quadir Copeland has a good game. But yeah, Clemson experienced team as well. Brad Burnell slept on coach. I think he's like top 20, 25 at this point just because the coach crop has kind of gone down. So I'm with you guys on Clemson, also ACC pride. Now, a big one, I think maybe a sleeper team here that some people like, High Point University facing off against Purdue. So this one I'm back and forth on. I actually, when I was making my bracket, picked High Point, but I'm not sure if I want to stick with that. I think Purdue is just in that same spot where they could just lose first round and be kind of that shock upset, especially tomorrow. 12:40 game. I mean, you're going to go from Louisville Creighton ending to this. I feel like the second game is always kind of crazy, like a little upset potential. So I'll say for the pod and for right now, I'm with High Point. I bet High Point on the spread too. I think they're plus 7.5, 6.5. So I like High Point to get out of here with the W. I just don't trust Purdue post Edie. You're kind of putting a lot on that point guard that I'm not sure if I trust or not. So I like High Point, little like high scoring team over Purdue. What do you guys think? Con, we'll go to you here.
I'm taking Purdue. I think I saw somewhere that High Point is like terrible defending the three, and I think Purdue like takes a lot of threes. I think High Point's a pretty popular upset pick. So I like Purdue. Painter's a good coach. I think they just made the final last year. Like they're a pretty legit team. So I'm taking Purdue to win.
Dill?
I'm also taking Purdue, and a lot to the same point that Connor made about just how atrocious High Point is against like high pick and rolls and defending the wing on threes. When that's Purdue's bread and butter, I think they might beat them by 25 or 30. So Boilermakers, baby.
All right. We'll catch up with the chat real quick. Can't believe McGann will come to New York City for March. What's there? I mean, I can just watch at home with all my TVs. Not a real friend. I'll be there for the NFL draft. We're going to watch every single pick of the NFL draft in New York City. So yearly tradition begin. Ben Johnson, too, was distracted. So a little Will Wade pointer there for Lions offensive coordinator heading to the Chicago Bears. Maybe something there. Who's your pick for March Madness? Luckily for you, we are on the last region. We've all given our 3 Final Four picks up to this point, and then we'll give our last pick and make our picks for the championship. Purdue. So I do have someone backing me up there. And so we'll continue on with the bracket. Illinois, the most inconsistent team I think I've seen in college basketball in my young career watching it, facing off against the one actually important first 4 game that we haven't seen the result of yet, Texas versus Xavier. So if you want to give a little tease for our picks, I mean, I think me and Connor made it pretty known. We think Xavier's going to win tonight. Dill, are you on that same boat? Xavier over Texas, or do you think Texas can get it done? What's that kid's name? Trey Johnson. We actually saw Trey Johnson in person.
Whoa,
against
really?
Cuse. Yeah, against Cuse in the Barclays Center.
How do you look?
Back in
the
November.
albino kid too. I forget the albino kid number number 0 maybe or number 2. That kid's insane. Nah, Texas is legit.
Oh yeah. No, I'm betting Texas this game. And partly because of Trey Johnson. Like I don't know if Xavier can throw a bunch of guys at him, but I don't know if they can stop Trey. But then after that, I also have Texas beating Illinois. Because, like you said, Illinois is wildly inconsistent.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think honestly, like I like UNC, but I think I almost trust. If it's Texas, I think because I already have UNC, I won't take Texas. But Xavier, Fremantle's been there for a bunch of years. Xavier kind of has that core team. Like I feel like Xavier doesn't really have a lot of transfers. They kind of keep that same core. I could be totally wrong on that, but I like Xavier to beat Illinois. But Illinois, like if they decide to wake up, like I think potentially looking at next round, like Kentucky's a beatable team, and then after that, like if they have a crazy game against 10, like I think there's a world where Illinois just makes the Elite Eight. But I'm going to lean on to the theory that they're just going to be inconsistent as ever and lose this first game to either Xavier and maybe Texas. If it's Texas, I'll really have to actually decide in this game. But I'm liking the 11 seed most likely to advance. Con?
I agree with you. I think whoever wins tonight will beat Illinois. I think it'll be Xavier. I think Sean Miller is elite, not a criminal. And the game is in Ohio, and Xavier's in Ohio. So I'm taking X to win, and then I'm taking X to beat. I'm taking X to beat Illinois, and then I'm actually taking X to win the next round as well. So I'm taking X to make the Sweet 16.
Okay. We'll keep it moving. Kentucky versus Troy. I think it's pretty easy. Kentucky for me. I think they've gotten some people back. I think I trust Mark Pope enough as a coach to get this done over Troy. I think there might be intrigue there as Troy spread just because Kentucky kind of has that first round feel to them. But
Marshall, Thundering Herd. It's one of them. Stanford
Okay.
Cardinal.
You're answering a
Second.
question. You're answering
The
a
Red
question that I didn't pick
Storm.
up.
Yeah, dude. Once I saw it, I started thinking about these teams immediately.
Syracuse Orange.
Yup.
Aha.
Good one.
Right there.
The
Tulane
Tulsa
Green Wave.
Golden
wait.
Golden Hurricane
And Tulane Green
and
Wave
Tulane.
too. Yeah.
Is that all of them?
That's like 5 or 6.
That's
I think.
6.
Wolfpack. Did we say that?
Wow. And Nevada, the
So
other Wolfers.
there's way more than
Wolves.
7,
8.
I think. All right. False trivia. Come back with the real trivia. Back to Troy, Kentucky. I said Kentucky.
We cracked it.
Dill.
I'm also gonna go Kentucky. I think that spread is juicy. But I think Kentucky's gonna win.
Hofstra Pride.
Okay.
All right.
Boom.
There's a
I have
million.
Kentucky as well.
Okay.
Alabama Crimson Tide.
There you go.
It's what,
Interesting game here. UCLA, Utah State. Utah State had a very strong year in the Mountain West. UCLA, first year in the Big Ten. A lot of complaining out of Mick Cronin. A lot of back and forth on the UCLA drama. I think that was like peak college basketball. I think that was like early December or something. I remember those press conferences were like appointment television, even though I didn't watch any of them. In this spot, I'm going with the upset. I think this spread's way too high. I think Utah State can get this done. UCLA has to come into the Eastern time zone, I believe, for this game. Not totally sure about that, but I like Utah State to get this done. I'll trust one Mountain West team. I mean, they've been the most consistent team all year. UCLA, I just think is kind of like a flop team this year, back and forth, like they decide to be good or not. So I'm going to go with Utah State here. Dill, what do you think for UCLA, Utah State?
I'm also going Utah State, and a lot of it has to do with all that drama, like you said. I'd really, really, really like to see a Mick Cronin presser top the one that he had earlier in the year. If his team gets upset in the first round, I think that would be a highlight of the 2020s of college basketball.
I'm gonna take UCLA here. I mean, they play in the Big Ten now, so they're kind of used to flying across the country. Mountain West sucks. Utah State is a cool story because I think it's their third head coach in 3 years, and they've made the tournament every one of those years. But I'm gonna take Cronin. I mean, he's a pretty solid coach. Also, Cornell, Big Red, Dartmouth, Big Green. Sam Houston State Wildcats with a Z.
Oh,
I forgot about that. So, but yeah, we'll move on. I'll take Tennessee next round as well.
He said there's more. There might be more.
Illinois is a good one though. It's a good shout. We missed that.
Yep. Okay, so last game on the board: Tennessee versus Wofford, home of Fletcher McGee. Is there another potential Cinderella story here against Tennessee? Con already said Tennessee. So, Dale, what do you think?
Tennessee.
Yeah. Honestly, I think of the 15-2 games, this could get the most wonky just because I don't trust Robert Morris. I think Michigan State knows March. Tennessee kind of like
respectable.
Tennessee plays that like suffocate you game where sometimes they can't score on offense themselves, but I think Tennessee gets this done. I think I might have bet on Wofford spread. I forget. But Tennessee, I'm taking to win that game as well. So now our final 4 pick for the region, just to break everything down again, we have Houston, who is the lowest 1 seed. Tough potential matchup. We all had Gonzaga moving on to the second round. And then Clemson, ACC Pride, Purdue, Illinois inconsistent, Kentucky inconsistent, and then Tennessee on the bottom. So who's your guys' Elite 8? And who do you have coming out of this region? We'll start with you, Con. What do you got?
I have Tennessee beating Houston to win the region. I do have a little future parlay involving Tennessee to make the Final Four that I placed like a month ago or so. So I just kind of have some bias, but they're a good team. They play in the SEC. They've been good for a few years. Their coach, whose name escapes me, Barnes or something, he's elite.
Rick Barnes.
Yeah. So I take Tennessee, and then that makes my Final Four: Auburn against Florida, SEC, and then Duke against Tennessee.
Respectable. Dale, what are you thinking?
So I also have Tennessee in the Elite 8. I think that suffocating brand will get them like far enough. but I had them losing to Gonzaga in the Elite Eight.
Wow. Holy cow.
Like I said before about their possession and how they can control an offense. It's March, wonky shit happens, and I think a year for Gonzaga to make more noise than they have in a while would be in a year where it's least expected. So my Final Four now will be Texas A&M versus Florida. Also have an SEC matchup, and Duke versus Gonzaga.
Okay, so I'm glad none of you guys did it. I'll take Houston. I think offense has improved last year. I think they should have been a lock to make the Final Four, but then Shed got hurt in an unfortunate game against either Duke or somebody. I forget what happened, but Kelvin Sampson, I think he's due at some point to get into the Final Four and win a championship. I don't know if that'll necessarily come this year, but I like Houston to get this job done. My Final Four is pretty chalky as well, minus the kind of shaky Texas A&M pick. So I have Texas A&M versus Florida as well, and then Duke versus Houston in the Final Four. So now it's time to pick our Final Four and champion early on here in the pre-round of 64. I'll just start it off since I just said my Final Four. So Florida versus Texas A&M. I think Florida has just been too good this year. I don't see Texas A&M lasting that long, making the national championship game. So I'll take Florida to get that done. And then Duke versus Houston. I think Duke beats Houston. I think it's going to be crazy offense versus crazy defense, but I trust the young freshman of Duke. And then in the championship, we have Duke versus Florida. And I've been going back and forth in this all week. I still don't have my mind made up. But for now, I'll go with what the people are saying. A lot of trendy picks are on Florida. I'll pick them as well over Duke. I think at some point in the tournament, the inexperience of Duke will come up. That's my only concern with them. I know they have the most talent. I know they're the best team. They have the best player. But I just think Florida will get the job done. I don't know. It just seems too easy for Duke to win. So I'll take Florida over Duke in my national championship. We'll go to Dill next since you had somewhat of a similar Final Four-ish.
Yeah. I mean, we had 3 out of the same 4. So I have Florida over Texas A&M, and then I have Duke over Gonzaga. So we have the same finals matchup. But I think Duke's going to come out on top. We've seen them do it before where they beat experience with just pure talent. They did it in 2016 against Wisconsin or 2015. Whatever year that was.
Yeah, I think that was 2015.
Cooper Flagg is unbelievable. I think Maluak is super. I can't say underrated. I think people know he's a beast, but I think Duke's going to do it.
Con?
I have in my Final Four. Damn, that hurt my shoulder. I have Florida beating Auburn. And then I have Tennessee beating Duke. I'm not even too confident on that. Honestly, like out of my Final Four teams, Tennessee is who I'm least confident in. But I have them beating Duke just because I don't really want to see Duke in there. And then I have Florida, Tennessee in the final, which would be insane for a lot of reasons, especially, the SEC and everything. And then I do have Florida winning the national championship this year.
Okay. So 2 Floridas, 1 Duke.
And Duke.
Yeah.
Wow. We're shocky board here.
I don't know. I look at the bottom right, and it's like a Tennessee. I don't trust them. Like Houston, I just pick them by default. Like Kentucky's your 3 seed. I don't know.
No, it is. It's absolutely true though.
Like the good teams, like Auburn has like one of the better brackets for like teams that could just scrap, and then like Duke. I mean, there's nobody in Duke's region. There's really, Florida, like maybe Maryland gives them a challenge, maybe St. John's, like a good. I don't know. It's just a tough bracket for like to see right now a 1 seed losing. So.
I'll say, from the outside, or if you just look at the Final Four of like all 3 of our brackets, like definitely seems chalky. But if you really dive into it, we did have some upsets and some runs by teams, and I do think you guys had it right. If there were to be a region where something chaotic happens, I think it would be the South. Not that Auburn isn't legit, but Louisville was underseeded, Creighton was underseeded, Michigan's a great team, A&M is very scary. UNC is scary out of nowhere. Izzo, you can't count out the 2 seed Michigan State. So I think that region will be a lot of fun to watch. But yeah, should be exciting.
It might be the best region, like craziest but best talent wise. Part of that because of some of the underseedings. But then UC San Diego and Yale, 2 of the biggest upset picks, are right in the same region too.
Yeah.
UNC is a favorite now. I mean, yeah, some wild shit might happen.
And then even like New Mexico, like they're a legit
could.
team. I know, like I've been shitting on the Mountain West, but like you never know. And I mean, even like Ole Miss, like that region is scary for the talent. As
really
you
from
said.
top to bottom, really, because
Yeah.
even like Yale, people are hyping up. UC San Diego, even Lipscomb is like a popular 14 team. So Bryant, I mean, really, but there's a lot of talent here. So do you guys want to give one sleeper pick for a Final Four? I'll give one. I think Clemson, potentially, you're looking at Final Four. Experience, I think they get an easy matchup with High Point second round, potentially. And then, I mean, either Gonzaga or Houston, whoever wins that's going to be coming off a war. And then the bottom side, I mean, I just don't trust Tennessee and like to win 3 or 4 straight games with that defense. So maybe Clemson is a little sleeper there. I like that. Maybe a sleeper to come out of that bottom right. If you guys
Yeah, I mean, I'll say I didn't really think of Kansas until this pod here, but you guys have kind of made me think about Kansas more. So I won't say them for now, but I might fill out some brackets where they make a run. Although I will say, crap, now I forget. I had someone, but Vandy. I mean, I know I like mentioned Vandy earlier, but it seems like time and time again, there's like one of those like 7 through 11 seeds that's from like a power conference that just like ends up in the Final Four. Last year was NC State. I know it happened to South Carolina recently. I also do, yeah, Cuse. It happens too. I also like Creighton. I know their draw is really bad, but if you asked me before the draw was out, I would have said Creighton. Less so now, but yeah, I think Creighton and Vandy are teams to watch.
I mean, out of that South region, just because we're talking about how chaotic it is, I think any one of Louisville, like you were saying earlier, Ole Miss, UNC, Marquette, even like I think there's a number of teams that could come out of there. But one that I think I'd have a little bit of faith in, besides Kansas or like a super or a team like that would probably be Arizona. Again, I said it, I'm always high on them, sometimes for no reason. But again, Tommy Lloyd is a damn good coach. I think also he probably has some success in March coming to him. I don't know if they could shock Duke, but if they could, then I'm pretty confident they could beat anybody. So let's see. Let's see Arizona make some noise.
All right. I like it. Very good pod, boys. Lot to discuss. I mean, maybe we'll be back, Sweet 16, Elite 8, depending on schedules and stuff. We do have some final comments from the chat to address. We're cutting into NFL football now. These are for Connor to start us off. Who will be the Giants quarterback to start off the next NFL season?
I think it'll be Russell Wilson, but I do hope we draft. I don't know. Honestly, I don't give a shit. Just win games. Whatever.
Okay. And what should the Giants do with pick 3?
Fucking what? Like, just do the right thing. I don't know what that is. Just do the right thing.
Suggestion from the chat, Travis/Abdul Carter.
Yeah, I'm down for Travis. I'm down for Abdul, but I'd be down for Ward too. I also think Shador would be a fun pick. I think if Shador goes to the Jets, that'd be like the funniest thing because like we were talking about him go to the Giants this whole time, and then he would just go to the Jets. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really want Rodgers. I'm sick of him, but enough about the football.
Yeah. Last question of the night. How do we feel about Milton Williams? If I'm being honest, I had no idea who Milton Williams was, but he's getting $30 million a year, so he better be good. Dill, if you have any comments on this.
I'm with you. I don't think I knew who he was until the Super Bowl. And then I think it was Mike Reese, the big time Pats ESPN reporter, was saying that Vrabel wants to focus his whole defensive scheme, like kind of center around Milton Williams' abilities on the D line. I don't know how much merit there is to that, but I'm assuming that would mean that this guy's pretty good at what he does. I hope we like him.
Me too. Defense.
I'm excited. I'm excited, I guess.
Get Diggs, and we got something cooking here. All right, guys. Thanks to our loyal viewers. We had a lot of consistent viewers throughout the stream. Tapered out a little bit at the end, but as always, a fulfilling night in the chat. Didn't pull up everything because you guys told me to stop. The chat did tell me to stop, so I'm thinking we'll be more selective as time moves on and we get more popular. So we'll see you back in a week potentially for the Sweet 16. Good luck, everyone, on your brackets. Get your future bets in now. Get your picks in now. And let's have a crazy tournament. Go Xavier. Perfect timing. Starts in 8 minutes. All right. Good night, everyone.
All right. Peace out, gents. Thanks.